All right, so I have this character. I've set up everything. The IK handles are set up. I have all the controllers for the master controller, the spine, center of gravity, and everything. All right. Now I want to do this. I want to have this IK controller, for example, for the hand, to have the option of being following the world space or the center of gravity, for example, or the neck, or any controller or any place of the character that I want. So it's totally up to me. Usually, for example, for the hand IKs, we want to have at least three options. One, to follow the center of gravity, the other one to follow the head, and the third one to follow the world space. So it's actually practically not connected to anything. I'm going to show you what's going on. I mean, the result would be something like this. Right now, this right IK controller is attached to the world, which means that if I move any part of the character, the IK is going to be staying in the same place. It's not following those controllers, unless if I move the master controller. So the master controller is actually moving everything. So when I'm talking about the world space, I'm talking about the master controller space, right? So again, right now, if I rotate the head, for example, of the character, the IK handle is going to stay in the same pose. If I rotate the center of gravity, the IK handle is going to stay in the same pose. So now, if I, for example, want to have this IK hand to follow the movement of the hip, so I will position that on the hip, right? And then I want to have it to follow the hip animation. Right now, it's not following that. I will go to the hand controller and switch from the world to the center of gravity, right? Now, if I start animating the center of gravity, you can see that the IK handle is following the center of gravity. I can do the same thing with the head. So I will bring it up. All right. So I have the hand close to the neck, and then I'm going to switch from the center of gravity to the head. All right. So now if I rotate the head, you can see that the hand is attached to the head. Right? So this is called space switch. I want to do the same thing for this one. It's not set up for this one. I just broke all the connections for this one so I can recreate that for you guys. So first of all, I need to define how many parents I want to have for this controller. Because this is the hand IK controller, again, usually I will have one for the world space, one for the center of gravity, and one for the head. At least these three. If you want to attach it to something else, you can do that too. I mean, you can just define whatever object you want to have that to follow, and then write them down. So for now, I will say just the world, the center of gravity, and the head. Then I'm going to, let me actually get rid of these so I can recreate them for you guys. So for the world space, I will select the master controller. For the center of gravity, I will select the controller. For the neck, I will select the controller, right? And then I will have them to be the parent of this IK controller. So I will select all the parents. I will select the controller, and then do a parent constraint, right? What happens if I parent constrain this IK controller to all of those three controllers? I will lose the possibility of animating these controllers. I cannot animate them anymore, right? So that's the problem. Solution, group. So I will select the controller first, group it to itself, and if I want to do that because I want to have the pivot point of the group to be on top of that, I will type in group here rather than hitting Control G. All right, so it will give me a group on top of it. The pivot point is in the same pose, in the same position. I will name it with the same name of the controller, but this time I'm going to add a suffix to that, space group, because I know that this group is just for the space switch. All right. So I'll do the same thing again. Select the master controller. You can, select the master controller, select the center of gravity controller, select the neck, select any other controller that you want to have. Then select the group, right? And do a parent constraint. Maintain offset on. Maintain offset on. Add. All right. So we have a group on top of the controller that is constrained. So I have a constraint here that is having 3 parents attached to it. Look at here. These are the parents. These are the sources of the movements for the parent constraint. And as you can see, I'm having a weight of 1 for all of them. If I am able to control these weights, I'm actually able to have the controller to follow either one of these 3 controllers, right? So rather than going into the parent constraint node and then animating these, I will create 3 attributes on the controller, right? I will create 3 attributes here. Name them. So one of them would be word. Minimum value of 0, maximum value of 1 for the word add. Another one, center of gravity, minimum and maximum 0 to 1, add. And one for the head. 0, 1, add. All right. So I have these 3 attributes. I can just connect them to the parent constraint node that I have here, right? I can use set driven key or I can use a straight connection. That's fine because the range of the attributes that I added were actually same as these ones. Node editor. Load in the parent constraint node by middle click and dragging it over. Load the controller over to. Hit 3 to expand it. Hit 3 to expand this one. So we have 3 attributes here. We have 3 weights here. Where are they? If you can just show me the weights. Here we go. So these are the 3 weights, right? So it's just a matter of connecting these 3 attributes to these 3 weights. Center of gravity is going to be connected to the, I think I called it root. This is the name of the controller. The head is going to control the neck weight, and the word is going to control the placement. These are the name of your controllers, by the way. All right. So if I go to the parent constraint node, I can see that I have these connections here. So now, if I start playing with these weights, for example, I want to have this hand to follow the center of gravity. I will put 1 on center of gravity. And if I start moving and rotating this, I can see that it's moving, it's controlling the movement of that. If I rotate the neck, it's not going to follow that because the weight on the neck is set to 0 here, right? So I have full option of switching between these 3 spaces. And sometimes if you do some research and try to do the same thing and you are Googling something, you will see that some of the riggers are actually having some enum attributes here and they are having 3 options for that space switch. I prefer not to do that because this way you can actually animate these weights. You can animate from one space to the other one. If you create an enum attribute here, you cannot animate it. It's going to give you some popping effect on it. Okay? So it's better to have these kind of separate attributes. It's harder to animate, but it's animatable.